And to screw it up less next time, although we can't possibly screw it up as badly as the city is screwing this up. And welcome to the This Week in Worcester podcast. I am Tom Marino. I am editor at This Week in Worcester. This is Mr. John Edward Keogh. He is a valued and featured contributor to This Week in Worcester. He's also president of Hollywood Film Group and an executive producer with Manny J Media. Hello, Mr. Jonathan.
Hello. How are you, sir?
There's been no news this week, so it's been slow.
It has been, I guess, a little bit slow, yeah. Nothing's going on.
Being very sarcastic.
Nothing's going on in the world.
My new, by the way, you may see some weird and fervent movements during this episode. For I am apparently in the business of fighting bees.
Tom has a bee, and we would like everybody in the chat to come up with a name for the bee.
I believe that bee is no longer with us, but there will probably be another one.
There might be other bees.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. There was a hive on the side of my place, and like it's gone now. It's been taken out, but they're kicking around and trying to find their way into the house because no home. Oh, see, there he is. Maybe I didn't kill him. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Bee dodging. It's my new profession.
This is how you show you're really a big time pro is when you can handle a bee in the middle of a very important.
Yeah, there's nothing important to talk about.
TV show.
Me I'm fighting bees. So we both were at the D4 debate today that just ended a little while ago, and we will discuss shortly. But it would just I don't know. It just seems like it would be malpractice not to discuss the murder of a political podcaster, Charlie Kirk, today, which has, of course, dominated the news cycle, which is a problem in itself.
Yeah.
But what day was that? That was on the 11th, right? So, somebody
the 10th. The 10th.
Was it the 10th? With a hunting rifle. I put one instant with a scope. Took one shot and ended Charlie Kirk's life. This hasn't been reported, but it seems like it was kind of on the spot. That once hit, the location of where he was hit ended his life quite quickly, from what I can surmise from reports.
I've seen the video multiple times because I
haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was sent to me.
I just haven't.
I mean, he died instantly. There's no doubt about it.
And Mike, I try to stay off of conspiracy theories, but when I'm literally watching this bee hover over me, when it seemed too clean to me, seemed like a pro job, right? I mean, location of the shot, one shot, and he's on his feet and moving. They say 150 yards to 200 yards. That's not. I mean, it's not. Oh my God, a shot. It's not military sniper level shooting, but it's I haven't fired a gun and I can't tell you how long. A gun that size. And, I would bet my bond dollar I wouldn't have be able to perform with that precision. Obviously, I wouldn't be shooting at a person, but nonetheless.
Yeah, it was a 30. From what the gun that they recovered is a 30-06, and so, I mean, it's with the modern scoping. I mean, it's not the most difficult shot, but you still need to have familiarity with the weapon to be able to do that in one shot. Yeah. So.
Right. So the first thing I have to say about this is the penalty for speech is not death.
Yeah. And no one should die for saying their opinion. They should.
No matter how reprehensible you might think those opinions are. If you think that, I agree.
another thing is I think like one of the things that you and I have talked about this a bunch of times is that you can actually agree with somebody about one thing and then disagree with them about everything else. So you could have one point of commonality with a person and then everything else be different. But that doesn't mean you support them or support the things that you disagree with. It just means, oh yeah, they're on this issue A, we're both, both agree. Of course, I always use the sky is blue idea, which is that I think for the most part, I think the sky is blue. And I think that you think the sky is blue. And I think most people do, except there's, of course, people who are colorblind and people with different conditions. Maybe they see something different than what we see.
People that just, for whatever reason, they don't like who's saying it and will swear the sky is blue.
Exactly. I mean, so there's that, concept. So, I mean, there was stuff that Charlie Kirk said in his life that I agreed with. And there was a bunch of stuff he said that I disagreed with. And either way, I don't think he should die. I just also want to say he's not the first person to die in public. And I feel like there's some folks that kind of have acted as if
this is like unprecedented.
Yeah, like that someone. Now, I guess maybe there's some folks that live in a different part of the country or in a different part of our society who haven't seen violence like this, but I've seen people killed in front of me with bullets before. As we had one full episode of the show one time, I've been shot myself. And having experience around weapons, I've seen people die, so it wasn't a shocking thing. I guess. By the way, that noise is Tom killing a bee. If anybody wants to know, he is not harming any humans. He is, in fact, harming a bee. So if you want to call your local apiary society on Tom, you can. You could report him to the bee.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There is no evidence of the bee being killed. There was no video, and so I guess we could do that. So I think I think that like I was thinking about this today, and because I knew we were going to talk about this, and I intentionally didn't want to get into some of the posts that I was watching on Facebook. There was some wild posts this week. Just crazy nonsense. And so I have some friends that are church friends, and then I have some friends who are not church people. And there was people on both sides just saying just crazy stuff. And I just avoided it for the most part and kind of, focused on me being me. And the thing that strikes me is I think there was a point that we crossed the line as a country as far as public violence being kind of normalized. And I don't think this was it. I think that I really do think that the more I think about it, the George Floyd case was like a line of demarcation in our country. And I'm not saying there weren't things that happened before that or things that have happened since, but in particular, the visceral nature of that video of the 9+ minutes of someone being murdered live while other police officers stood by and allowed it to happen, changed, I think, for most adults, how we view the government and how we view what people are saying. I think even conservative people, or I don't want to say conservative, but even people who are like on the side of the police never do anything wrong, even they would have a hard time if you were in a one-on-one conversation and we had the video up, they would have a hard time explaining the descending pressure of the knee onto this man who is clearly in distress, right? So, I mean, it'd be harder, 3 minutes in, 6 minutes in, but 9 minutes, it really starts to become harder and harder to argue. And then if a person is arguing that, I think what you end up saying is, this is not a person that can be reasonable in any other circumstances. So that person should not have any authority or power or be in charge of anything, right? So since then, I think violence at that level on a more, not hidden by the news level is like normalized. So, I mean, I don't know. Lee Harvey Oswald was killed live on TV. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, on and on. JFK, RFK, on and on and on. I mean, political, assassinations, a lot of those,
murder happens.
No, it does, but I would say that in those cases, the stuff was hidden from the public for years and years and years and years, and there was, blue ribbon commissions and multi-panel commissions that had to fight to get the footage out, and to be able for us to see the whole thing. And even now, to this day, in all three of those cases, we still have the government refusing to provide the information.
Yeah, anyway,
yeah. So what I'm saying is that there were some people who reacted to this thing with Charlie Kirk as if that was the first time that's ever happened. And
this was.
I don't know how to. I can't even have a conversation.
It's propaganda. It's propaganda, led by the White House. So look, I didn't wish anything. I didn't wish him to die. I don't think it's good that he died. But this idea that's now been really pushed for a week until yesterday, for some reason, we'll get to that in a second, is that I have to feel some sort of way about this. Like, everybody has to feel some sort of way. I'm sorry. I'm not in tears because I don't believe that women are inferior. I don't believe that gays should be stoned because God's law is perfect. Words he said. I don't care, by the way. Stephen King,
but he didn't say that.
Ran away from that. He said what he said.
No, but he did not. So that's an important. Really, see, I think this is where we got to be really careful, because I watched the whole episode of him engaging with Miss Rachel, and that is not what he said. Well, so you got to really watch that all the way through before you say that, because he didn't say that. And so now he said other really vile things. And for example, saying that black women are not as intelligent as other women, that he said that on a regular basis. So
roaming blacks targeting whites for crime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He definitely said that. He also said that whenever he got on a plane and he saw an African-American pilot, he questioned whether or not that person could fly the plane or not. But he said crazy, crazy things all the time. So I'm not saying he didn't say bad things, but I do want to say that this is the part that I kind of like. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know how it helps to attack we go after a person's they're dead. Like, once they're dead, they're dead.
That's the point though. It's not like, it's not really even attacking him. Like, I don't like to talk, but I just said 2 weeks ago when the former police chief died, this isn't the time for that.
Yeah.
And normally this wouldn't be the time for that. But all these psychopaths online are running around screaming that you have to feel some sort of way about this. You have to be upset. If you don't say, oh my God, this is the world's greatest tragedy, you're going to be targeted for doxing, for example. Right. And those people are psychopaths and are the worst people in the world.
Sure.
So nobody has to feel some sort of way. Just like the stupid president didn't feel some sort of way when two politicians in Minnesota one was killed and another was almost killed, or the same people that they got tears now that started spinning conspiracy theories about Nancy Pelosi's husband being gay, and it was a gay lover that beat him up for months after that crap happened. So spare me your righteous indignation. You people are scumbags.
I hear you. I would also say that I also saw people celebrating his death,
just like they did, right?
But just I don't know. That's what I mean, though. You just like they did doesn't excuse the folks that are doing it. But
the only people that care are the people that do exactly the same thing. That's the only people that care.
No, I mean,
because you just ignore those people because they're idiots. And dancing on somebody's grave is a loser.
Yeah, I care. But I'm not calling for anybody's death. I care about that. I care that we should treat each other well and try to care about each other. And here's what I will say. For the first time in my life, I agreed with Bill Maher about anything, and it was this week. And I can't stand Bill Maher, and he's one of the worst people with a platform I've ever seen. But Bill Maher this week said that the internet is undefeated in providing false information to people. And I will agree with, is that the internet is definitely not the place to go to learn information, to get it. And I think that Charlie Kirk was definitely subject to that, because often he would repeat things that were only established on the internet. And I mean, and to be frank, I mean, that's both sides of the political spectrum have been doing this to us for a really long time. I disagree with the people who say, well, we can't establish what this person did or what that person. I don't like. I don't agree with that. I also don't agree with this other thought that's been really heavily pushed, which is there's no room for political violence in our country. The people that say that want to maintain the status quo of the two-party system, and are adamant about that. But in revolutions, there's political violence. Now, I'm not advocating to hurt anybody because you guys, our audience knows that I don't want anybody to be harmed. I would prefer that. I would prefer. I mean, you know where I'm going. I would prefer that everybody love Jesus and we all just hang out together and sing songs, and hang out with gnomes and eat cake. I mean, that's really what I want to do. Make movies and enjoy ourselves. But I also realize that that's not possible in this world, and I don't see any. I like out of this thing. There's no leadership, right? I don't see any. Like no Democrat came out and became this person. And then we have nonsense going on all the time, like MSNBC firing Matthew Dowd because he said, when you talk like this, it leads to a culture of violence. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I disagree with Matthew Dowd, but then we have what's his name, Brett Kilmeyer there on Fox News saying,
an absolute reprehensible scumbag.
Euthanize unhoused people, but he's not fired. So it's like, right. To me, so in that case, the folks that I would be upset with is MSNBC, because why are you, or CNN, whoever it was that fired him.
No, it was MSNBC. Yep.
MSNBC. So MSNBC should be held accountable that their version of it is to fire this guy who said something that's pretty tough. And then, but on the other side, the Fox people, they're not going to fire their guy. So why did MSNBC fire this guy? It doesn't make sense that there are these standards that are being applied. It's really kind of wild. And then, I mean, I also realize the internet, Tom, and you and I, the funny part is you and I have been hammered in the city for a while, right? And we have not printed every story that we know. Not even remotely close, right?
I mean, that would be irresponsible to do so.
It would be irresponsible, but there's some stories that I have that I believe to be true, but I don't have enough that you and I can put a printing behind it, because then it would affect the integrity of the brand. But they still attack our integrity, even that. But at the national level, people lie all the time, and there's no holding them accountable. And in the few times that I have held other media people accountable for saying things that were just completely untrue or manipulating things, the pushback is unbelievably strong, So, I mean, what you see here is this willingness to accept violence against one group by the other group.
It's totally dependent on if you agree with the person or not.
Yeah, exactly. And then the reversal is when the person is someone that you agree with. Now we're going to be sad, and it's like, I think we should have been being sad all along.
Well, so I mean, look, I don't mind being people upset, and if you like them, you like them. We disagree, that's fine.
Yeah.
My problem is like the bullying into you need to feel sad about this. No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think
who if all you've done is talk about how sad everybody's supposed to be about Charlie Kirk, are you sad about those kids that died the same day in Colorado? No, you don't care.
No, so that's to me, I agree with that. That's the biggest point, is that we have all these school shootings, and you just don't see the care at the national level for this. We've had hundreds, thousands of children murdered over the past 30 years in school shootings, and I just don't see that you have the same pushback. I mean, it's always the response is Second Amendment, and it's like okay, how does this make? By the way, this particular gun is a hunting rifle. I don't know that in Utah I don't know. No, I'm just saying that I don't know that like if there was more gun control, that it would have affected this person. He had no record. He had no history of mental health disorders. He was used to having guns. As far as I understand, the gun was licensed to him. So it's like, it's like the response is more gun control, but that gun control wouldn't have applied in this situation. This person, would have been able to do it. That's the other thing too that people don't realize is that there are plenty of people out there. There's hundreds of millions of guns in the United States in the possession of people. By far, we have more guns than anywhere on earth, and another person could do this exact thing for something locally innocuous, and that's possible. We see crazy stuff, in Worcester. We saw assault and battery take place inside City Hall over an online Facebook post. You know what I mean? Like we've seen that already. Those are real things, and so the callousness with which people approach the subject, I think, is because I think, Tom, they're afraid to have this conversation that even you and I are having right now. But they can't even say it because they have to talk about their opinion. It's more important that they get out their points than the person's life. And so it's even the people who are for the guy, they don't care about him. They care about what his death and his life could be for their rhetoric. And you don't really care about the guy. You care about you, So
yeah. So in the screaming about you have to feel some sort of way. If you feel any other way, well, you deserve to be attacked and doxxed, and this is war now. Lots of declarations of war on Twitter.
That was wild.
And my favorite was, though, you're just upset because he was a truth teller. The last thing the man said was a lie.
I mean, he definitely said some stuff that in that clip that just doesn't make sense.
It's very the second to last thing he was asked. How many mass shooters have there been? Because this is the new thing. The idiot that's the president wants to ban trans people from having guns. Weird. Now we're just taking whole sections of people and banning them from having guns. That does actually sound like that thing that people say took away the guns that didn't. But anyway.
By the way, they immediately stopped saying that when the NRA came out and said, no, you're not doing that.
Right.
Immediately. You see how powerful the NRA is. The NRA released a press release, and that was the end of that. It went away immediately. You haven't heard that again since.
So this person said, how many trans people have committed mass shootings? And the recently deceased said, too many.
Yeah.
Now, there's an answer, though, and it's 6. It is 6 since 2017. As a percentage of mass shootings, by one calculation, that is 0.17% of mass shootings, which is more than 5 times lower than the representation of 1% in the population. So, line number 1. And the reason why I didn't answer, and don't tell me he didn't know. Of course he knows how many.
Right. I think he probably does. Again, I think that his style that I saw was that he was sorry, someone's texting me. I'm just going to tell him I'm on the live. He's he does provocative things. He challenges people with these provocative statements, and I think it was intentional, his approach. You know what I mean? It was always this prove me wrong thing. Led to the series of memes and all this other stuff with this guy. So I think he was doing it on purpose. If if there was any other thing.
I mean, look, this is what people like. I mean, it's not just him. This is a model that's done by Ben Shapiro's another one that uses this exact model.
Yeah,
creates a very controlled environment, limits the time you're allowed to speak, and then spits back a bunch of talking points and moves on. Yeah. Never has to answer for the things they said, right?
Yeah,
and so
they all do that.
Just, right. So that's just what is said is now the truth, and we move on, right? It's a bait and switch type of debate style.
Yeah, I can't stand it.
Controlling the environment.
And so I mean, I can't stand it in any capacity. Whether whoever does it, The View does the same thing. It's The View. Yeah. They set people up with these crazy things, and then
I was only bringing up stuff that was relevant.
No, I understand, but I think that's the problem. I don't think I think it's all relevant, and that's
no, yeah, it's that was a joke, but
I'm not trying to. I think what I'm trying to say is that what I heard since this thing happened, no one took responsibility for the environment that our country is in,
Right.
At all. And that's where we need a collective, like, holy moly, but it shouldn't be this guy in this incident that makes us get to there. It should have been.
It's not going to be.
And I don't think that I don't see any room in any of the national politics, or even in the state politics, or even in the local politics, where anybody takes responsibility for what has happened or what is happening. And that's, even tonight when we'll talk about it later, the D4 debate, I don't know that there's no collective responsibility being taken by anyone. And so it's like, what's the point of even having you and I get to talk about it, and I feel like you and I can have better and more in-depth conversations on this than you ever get to see at the city council level, because there's never any responsibility taken. It's always, well, this was before me, or this was in a different thing, and we didn't know that this person was going to do this, and so it's not our fault. It's this, it's always, blame is always pushed politically. And I don't know when that started. It's the farther you go back, right, the closer you get to really stupid things. So I feel like it's just this. It's the nature of the contradiction of the United States, which is the United States was founded on this principle that all people were supposed to be equal, but they never were. And because of that great inequality that we began, we were founded on a lie, and we can't get past it. We just can't, because there's other parts that we like. There's other, like this right here, what you and I are doing. There's other nations on earth that this is not allowed. That's a statement of fact. So you and I are allowed to say whatever we want. And at least I don't think so. I don't think that the government is coming after the This Week in Worcester podcast. Maybe we're on a list somewhere. I don't know. But I doubt very much that Donald Trump's ever going to mention you and me in a press briefing. Like, I hate that Tom and I hate that John. Although
like a badge of honor.
If he did, it would be great for our show.
And so naturally, Elon, Twitter, I'm always calling it Twitter, is explodes because it's become basically a echo chamber of what right-wing thought mostly. Yeah. And libs of TikTok and all these big accounts. This means war 2 days ago. This means war. You libs don't know what's coming to you. You kill us, we kill you. Rawr. And then it suddenly got really quiet yesterday. Yeah. Why is that? Well, because first of all, this happened in a district that voted, I think, more than 75%. I think it was 78% for Trump. And the individual that there's no Democrats. And we found out that this person is his whole family are Republicans. In Utah, often families have a very gun-oriented culture, right? They're brought up using firearms. There was a report from The Guardian, the overseas version. They had talked to somebody who said that they knew him and that he was the only lefty in their family. They have since retracted that. I think that the note said that they kind of asked that person further questions, and their whole story fell apart. So they retracted that. The problem is that we have the very, very corrupt federal government that we have right now, and we don't know what they're going to tell us, because they'll tell us whatever they want, regardless of the truth, if it's the truth or not. But it's becoming more and more difficult to see this playing out as anything but this guy who committed this murder was a follower of even further to the right person who hates Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes, who's a just unabashed racist, who was on the Trump train. The kind of the final straw of the Trump train for these people was when he chose J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance is married to a non-white woman and has a missed child. And that's when the Nick Fuentes people jumped off the ship. Yeah,
I watched that episode, and Nick Fuentes is not a good dude. So he's
a despicable person. That's why the president had lunch with him a couple of years ago.
Yeah. At the golf
at Mar-a-Lago.
At the golf course. Wow.
Just outright white supremacist. Like the neo version of the second generation of neo-Nazism.
He claims that he like that. So at least with this is crazy that we have to parse it like this. Like, it's so wild, but Nick Fuentes like claims, he's down with Aryan and white is all that stuff. That's where he's at. And, so Charlie Kirk's badge of honor is that guy thought he wasn't racist enough. And so that's like, why it's just wild why is this even a conversation? It's 2025, dude. It's like, how is that even something we're talking about? But it is. And not only is it talking about this, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who go and watch these things and think, yeah, that sounds good to me. And I'm like, really? You know what I mean? Like, what? Really, man? You really? And when there's people that you and I that we know that aren't far from that. You know what I mean? Even tonight at the D4 thing, there was an oft-repeated, lie that the Trump administration has put out there that they've admitted since, but it was repeated in at the D4 debate just verbatim. And there's no pushback even from the other person because they didn't even. It's been repeated so much that people just like, yeah, that's true. Which
it's a big lie.
For those of you who want to know what I'm talking about, you've heard it 1,000 times where the people from ICE have said that they're just arresting criminals, and their own reporting is that they have I think it was 71 on last Friday was the last time I checked. So 71% of the people that have been arrested, detained by ICE, have no record of any kind.
Right,
71%. And by the way, when you then look into the numbers, it's not that 29% do. No. So 71% have no record. 3% of them don't even have a immigration thing against them. So not only do they not have, they're not illegal immigrants, they're actually legal residents that had some kind of paperwork thing, but it wasn't that anything was wrong with them. And then now it's 0.7%, but it's almost 1%, which is wild. Almost 1% of the detainers are U.S. citizens, which is just.
I mean, the president was caught on a hot mic. The president was caught on a hot mic talking to his outsourcing partner for concentration camps in El Salvador.
Yeah.
That U.S. citizens are next. He said those words to him.
Yeah.
It was hot mic.
Which, by the way,
that's what we're dealing with.
So then, like last week, Brett Kavanaugh wrote the decision for the Supreme Court saying that racial profiling is now apparently legal, which is a radical change from where we were just a couple of years ago. So now, it is the most ludicrous decision I think the Supreme Court has pumped out some insane decisions over the past few years, but this decision is ludicrous when he says that, according to Brett Kavanaugh, I don't know what sources he has. I don't. But according to him,
they make it up as they go.
ICE is only detaining people momentarily. Now, I've seen a lot of videos, and I don't know. I'm just going to go on the ones in California, but just the ones in Los Angeles was where this case originated from. There were tens of thousands, not hundreds, not thousands, but tens of thousands, literally, of videos from the police in California, not people holding their phones. We're talking about police body cam footage where the police were there when ICE was doing raids at Home Depots and all over the state. And they're not just detaining people. They're grabbing them, throwing them into a van, and then bringing them to a place in cuffs, in shackles, and then processing them. So it's not even like an attempt to do a normal arrest. Now, I'm sure there's some places where they've tried to do normal arrest, but they are arresting people sight unseen. If you're Hispanic at a Home Depot in California, you're getting arrested. It is what it is. And you have to then prove to them in custody that you're a U.S. citizen. That is
over here.
We've never done that. That's never been done in American history.
No. So it's back to the Kirk thing. So it's been interesting to see people online, who were declaring war 2 days ago, and now I don't have much to say. And there's been some really good stuff, like Nancy Mace. I think she's from Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think, 2 days ago, I think it was, had a tweet about the death penalty. And then the following day had a long tweet about how we need to pray for this person.
Yeah. To me,
because it's one of hers.
Yeah. No, to
That's
me,
why.
The better one with her is the video of her running up to reporters who weren't even asking her a question, but she ran up to the reporters and said, Democrats have to own this. And then the reporter saying, does that mean Republicans have to own the lady who was assassinated?
Obvious question.
Which was a great question, by the way. For all the people who went online and then attacked that reporter, that's what reporters are supposed to do. That's literally his job, is to say, well, wait a second, are you saying, does that mean that now, like, that's a great question that he asked. And one of my children have shown up to the chat.
So I mean, but she's just a despicable, reprehensible person.
She's out of control. It's amazing that, like, at this point, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not the worst. There is actually a level.
Woo!
Marjorie Taylor Greene actually did something good recently with the Epstein thing and voting with the Democrats. I think is great, and good for her. And by the way, campaign promise. Remember her district got shifted, and they had it was one of those rejiggered districts. She had to go to a different one to win and to get back into Congress. She did, and she just squeaked in, right? If you go look at that race, she was like 51 to 49, so it wasn't like as close. She blew it out before, but now she's kind of in a close race. And one of her campaign promises was that she was going to hold the Trump administration accountable on the Epstein files thing, and she has. And so now you have to say, oh, at least she did this, even though she's done a lot of other stuff that would be like,
and just back real quickly to all the things about the stoning the gays come. All of the reports said it was done on his podcast. I went to his podcast.
Yeah,
it's not there. So I haven't seen the video. Apparently it's on video. I figured it was audio because they said it was on his podcast. So I couldn't find it. So I haven't heard it. The quote. I mean, and I can read the quote. I don't understand it. What is he saying?
The quote was taken. The quote. They only give you a piece.
What's he saying then?
So this lady, Dr. Rachel, who's like, so she quoted the Bible.
Love your neighbor. Yep.
But she specifically quoted a section in Leviticus.
Yep.
And then he says, well, if you're going to quote that section in Leviticus, the couple verses before that say this thing about stoning people to death. So what he's saying is that part of loving, what she said is part of loving one another is stoning people to death. That's what he said. And it's very provocative. It's an intentional thing, but he did not advocate for it. So in the piece,
the quote ends with that I saw written with God's perfect law on sexuality.
Right?
Does he not think God's law is perfect?
No.
Is he not speaking?
You got to watch the whole episode. He does. He questions some things. He questions some interpretations. What he does is in the thing. It's really a back and forth between him and this Dr. Rachel, who, by the way, Dr. Rachel is fine. I don't know that she was trying to get into like what's called exegesis. This is like biblical exegesis, which is like the technical study of the words in the Bible. And he was responding to her kind of platitude with exegesis. And I just don't know that that's what she was trying to get into. So I think that was what he was doing it on purpose for a specific audience, but he never advocates for that. If you watch the whole video.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't. It's hard to get over the chapter before.
Yeah, the people who are quoting
God's perfect law when it comes to sexual.
They're not only the quote. I've seen the quote that you're talking about, and not only they are not giving you the full quote, but there's pieces in between the parts that you have that they're leaving out. And again, I'm not trying to defend this dude in any way. I'm just saying.
No, I get it. I mean, if I'm wrong, I want to say I'm wrong. It's hard to see. That's the only thing I could find is the text.
There's a reason Stephen King had to apologize for the same thing over the last couple of days.
Well, I mean, when you have a roving band of psychopaths screaming that they're going to kill you, I get backing down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's what Ashley just pointed out. I agree. I don't think that we're supposed to. So. First of all, I am a person who believes in Jesus. I don't believe that the Bible should be applied to people who don't want it to be applied to.
I mean, that's
and we've talked about that 1,000 times.
Neither did the founders.
Right. Yeah, neither did the founders. So this goes into this whole idea of Christian nationalism and what they're trying to accomplish when they, talk about the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't mention Jesus at all. It doesn't. It mentions God, but the version of God that you're talking about is a very specific version that's not a Christian God. It's this just kind of overall being thing that Franklin wrote. Oh my goodness. Benjamin Franklin. Sorry. Benjamin Franklin, who very much wrote most of our founding documents with Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. There was only 3 people that wrote the vast, vast majority of those documents. And they all were in general agreement with each other on this idea, this concept, but it was not from fundamental 20th century Christians. It was not the same thing, because what we call Christianity today did not exist like that then. It didn't. The closest thing you had to it was the Pilgrims. And before we get into what the Pilgrims did, because they did not cover themselves in glory, the Pilgrims were actually a persecuted minority group of Christians in England, which is hilarious. But that's the truth. I mean, they left England under persecution because their beliefs were different than the Church of England. And so what you have to understand, this is what I mean, is that all of these things that their arguments are making, this is basic fundamental education that no one has anymore. And then when a person does say something wild, like the Bible says this, no one can refute it. And then you have people who believe it. But if you only read the thing one time, you would know that doesn't say that. It doesn't say half of what those folks say that it says. And then you also have to be in the place. Now, I went to a church for a long time where I could argue with the leaders of the church if I disagreed with them, and they were okay with that. And that's not normal in America. In America, there's like a very, very specific structure where you have a pastor, and the pastor tells everybody what they have to think. And I think that if you look at Charlie Kirk, even though he was young, he had very much become that guy with this organization Turning Point. So basically whatever he interpreted became the word. And that's never a good thing. It's never a good thing. I say this all the time. Whenever you have like a ministry or a business that's named after you, that's not to say a shot at Manny, but that's a different thing. What I mean is, if you have an organization that takes like some kind of moral position and it's named after you, it's a guarantee that someone's coming for you and going to question whatever stand that you took. So it's wild, but that's exactly what we're dealing with. There's a reason why, though, that folks like me don't necessarily get to go further than I have within the Christian world, and that's because I will question things because I have the ability to ask those questions, because I have the educational background to say, hey, that's not what it says. I have a degree in Greek and I have a degree in Hebrew, and so I can say what I need to say, but that's not something that people want to deal with. They don't want to. They're like, no, it says this, and then so it's not an open question, because they think it fundamentally affects their ability to talk about their faith. It makes them question themselves because they've put it into something that I haven't, and so that's really it's a root of conflict that is nonsense. To be honest, nonsense.
Yeah. So shooting people is bad.
Don't do it. Yes.
Don't do it.
I think we all
the penalty for speech is not death. And I have no problem with people being sad. You like the guy, that's fine. We disagree, you like the guy. But this, it just really shows how authoritarian, the Trump movement is becoming. Now they think they can tell you how you are supposed to feel.
Yeah. So the free speech thing used to be like, I remember just a couple. It feels like just a few months ago, maybe. maybe it was longer than I think. I remember Elon Musk declaring himself a free speech absolutist.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that. So,
but then if you say anything pro-Palestinian on Twitter, it gets removed.
So then you're not really a free speech absolutist. You're just a
scumbag.
You're a limited speech person. But again, it's interesting to watch these shifts take place in the middle. Like, I mean, if you just go back 2 years, what were called, the Republicans before MAGA even got even really. I mean, it was already happening, but now it's like the thing in that movement. There was still like small government, limited, intervention Republicans. Those don't exist anymore.
No.
That's gone. Which is wild because that was. I shouldn't say that Rand Paul is the last one.
But
Rand
there's
Paul.
one more aspect of this, and this is probably the most objectionable part of the whole thing. The Pentagon and our woefully inadequate and inexperienced defense secretary told the press that they're tracking service members who say bad things about Charlie Kirk, and they will be punished.
That's wild.
Somebody outside the chain of command.
That's wild. But by the way, let me say this: Pete Hegseth or whatever his name is. I remember when he was on Fox News. I remember this last year, before he was ever a nominee for defense secretary. I remember him complaining distinctly about the fact checkers from Facebook questioning certain things that he said online. I remember this distinctly, right? So the hypocrisy at that level is so much so that you can't even have a conversation. It's just, you're just making stuff up.
And again, you can like the guy. Again, that's fine. This is America. You can like who you want. We don't lower our flags to half-staff for a podcaster because the president likes him. That's insane. That's insane. And that this governor, I mean, and I'm going to get on her in a minute, but the governor of the state went along with that is unbelievable. Like, that's for... Anyway, it's a full clown car in Washington D.C. A full clown car. If you think otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. We just see the world through different eyes, I guess. Now that we're through that, I don't think we screwed it up. Here's something we can screw up: 9/11. So,
I can't believe
on the anniversary of 9/11 the other day. We didn't talk about that though because we were busy talking about Charlie Kirk. But nobody in the country, a few police departments posted remembrance things, and some people posted remembrance things. But screw 9/11. We had to talk about Charlie Kirk because apparently the new this is a joke from a comedian, but because Donald Trump has a new television show and it's called The News, and it's just all about him and whatever he says. But on the anniversary of the day, the governor ordered, I think, DESE to create, the lesson plan or, the fundamentals of to implement teaching 9/11 in public school. In general, not a bad idea. But here's the problem. Is the second you peel that onion, now you're into things that they're not going to want to talk about. So the way this is going to play out, I'm almost certain, is it'll be like history when we were kids. At least for me, it was the history of the United States was the Revolutionary War was followed by the Civil War, and then was followed by World War II, World War I. It was just right after that was World War II, and then the West saved the world, and the West is the best, and especially the U.S. Flag, 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 flag. And it's going to be the only way this turns out in public school is going to be 6'11" Arab guy fell out of the sky, decided he hated America, and facilitated an attack, and people died, and then there was heroes, and that's it. Go America. Because if you do anything beyond that, you start opening up Pandora's box. So that's one option, right? Is that, right? And then maybe they do they can dabble in, because the second option is they dabble in a little bit of Soviets in Afghanistan, and there was these people there, and then they turned into bad people after they beat the evil commies. Then they turned into bad people.
This is wild.
You know what I mean? How are they going to spin that?
I mean, so here's my thought. I don't know how many of you in our chat or in the show I mean, I never imagined that this week in Worcester would go down this road, but have read the 9/11 Commission report, which is a 2,000 pages.
It is pretty much worthless.
Well, I think in it indicates some things about that commission, and that's really like kind of where you start digging. And so there's like, for example, a great example that many people have brought up is if the Flight 93, which was the one that went into the Pentagon, one of the hijackers, they found his passport on the ground, not burned up, completely normal, in New Jersey, randomly. That's in that book, and senators and like officials and like all kinds of people read that report and were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We found this one passport of this specific guy that we say is dead in the crashing of the plane against this thing, and we know it, and we found it in somebody's backyard because it fell out of the plane. I mean, like, and it made its way down in perfect condition to this backyard, and we were able to discover it, and just in the course of investigation, and that was just completely normal. And no, and so much so that Tom Clancy, I don't know if any of you know who Tom Clancy is, but he wrote the like Rainbow Six and what's the show that Jack Ryan, like those shows that have been on for a long time, which the dude from The Office got jacked to play that show. But anyways, Tom Clancy was like this really connected dude. He was in the military, and then he wrote all these books that were supposed to be like pro-America and all these other things. But Tom Clancy came out and said, man, that's really weird, and wrote a whole book about the spies that were involved with planting that thing. And he got before he passed away, he kind of got like left out of the former club that he was a part of. He used to golf with Dick Cheney, just to give you an idea of how connected this dude was. And so there's some wild stuff in the 9/11 stuff. If you really wanted to go down the road, and like it is too much for me. So much so that I don't understand what the need for the governor saying this on 9/11 for, other than she thinks she's in a race of some kind coming up next year, and that's really what it's going to be about. And so she wants to like solidify her bona fides on that subject. I guess. I mean, maybe there's votes that'll come from that. It just seems weird. I don't get it at all.
But there's a few things on now. Third version is you actually dive in, and
say what?
Here's some things we're definitely not going to talk about, right? We're not going to talk about Al Qaeda operative, and it's still remains questionable how close this person was to Bin Laden, but
we're not going to
Abu Zubaydah. Wow, I screwed his name up. I used to know this off the top of my head. Abu Zubaydah.
Oh yeah,
I think he's still in Cuba. In what do you call it? I can't think of the name of it. Guantanamo. Yeah. We're not going to talk about how he had the phone in his phone when he was captured. That he had the phone number, the direct line, the private line to Prince Bandar, then Saudi ambassador to the U.S. in Colorado. We're not going to talk about that.
What about
absolutely not going to talk about that.
What about the first plane, and that the guy was training in Maine for 2.5 years to fly 757s at an airport that only hosts Cessnas, which, if you know anything about, I actually once was going to be a small engine pilot. I didn't finish my license, but I had trained to do that for some time. And if you know anything about that specific airfield where this guy was at, it is literally small planes that are the size, that are, two person, prop planes, very small planes. And for some reason, there was one 757 that this dude was training on. It wasn't a flight simulator. He was taking off and landing along the coast of Maine for 2.5 years, just randomly. And no one knew that this guy who was distinctly not from Maine. You're not trying to say anything about the people of Maine, but I don't know that anybody has confused them with folks from Saudi Arabia. Just not a normal situation.
Right.
How about this? What about the prince admitting, in several of these conferences, according to certain translations, that they had not just foreknowledge, but had given WrestleMania. Yeah, I don't even want to go down this road. This is gonna, dude. This road is so far away from.
I just got a couple more. We're definitely not going to talk about Answar, a grandson of Abdulaziz, the founder of Saudi Arabia. How in right around June 2000, 2001 rather. No, it was 15 months before. So like right around June 2000. Never called this home before, but made a series of phone calls to a home in San Diego that Al-Midhar and two of the other hijackers that ended up in a field in Pennsylvania were staying at the time. And that after his last call there, and this very short period of time, made multiple calls there. After his last call, he never called there again. Never called that home again. Short period of time, made a series of phone calls. And 2 days after the last call, two of the hijackers drove from San Diego to Los Angeles to meet with a man named Omar al-Bayami, who was a Saudi consulate official, but really a Saudi spy. And we're not going to talk about what just came out this week as a result of the ongoing attempt by 9/11 families to sue the Saudi government for their very obvious complicity with this attack, is that Saudi officials pushed the 9/11 Commission hard to clear this man who has his fingerprints all over support for both people involved in this operation in San Diego and Los Angeles. We will absolutely not talk about that.
How about the fact that
we will talk about how Robert Mueller denied multiple times several attempts by investigative level agents to interview people in Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about how somebody was today saying, and I think it was Bradenton, the Florida still I think was in, how a man who hosted, I can't think of his name, the guy that ran the whole op though, because that was where he was in Florida. Literally, they visited his home multiple times, this Saudi guy, and he left in mid-August 2001. Cars in the driveway, food in the fridge, gone. And what did he do? Took a job with Aramco.
I mean, yeah, it's bad stuff, dude.
We're not going to talk about that. Yeah. So all of these patriots in Washington who really wanted the truth and all that, they should all be arrested for treason, because what they've done is cover up the Saudi conspiracy that attacked this country in 2000.
The holograms thing, Sean, I actually watched. There's a cartoon. So if you go on YouTube, and you put in World Trade Center holograms, there's an hour-long documentary that's actually animated, and it's very well done, which explains a lot of those points in song. It is there's a song component to it on the internet. There's a lot of information out there. If you really
I've mentioned this website a couple times called Florida Bulldog. Is a nonprofit investigative journalist in Florida. There's a lot of Florida stuff on this site, but they have a 9/11 article section in there. There is since 2011, I believe, they've published over 150 articles specifically on 9/11. A lot of it coming from the family's lawsuit, and they also sued the federal government twice for records. It is by far, hands down, the best post 9/11 reporting on the planet, without a question.
Have you ever heard of the Jon Stewart conspiracy?
No, I'm not talking about the real reason, but facts.
Well, so
I don't do conspiracies. The metal can't bend and all that. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk about it. That either that.
No, what I mean is that
6/11 Arab said for 20 years he was going to attack America. Then he did it, and it was a conspiracy. Shut
up. So what I'm saying is that Jon Stewart left from at the time the highest rated version of what his show is on the on cable, and this was a couple months after he had signed on to the firefighters lawsuit, which is still not resolved. And then if you remember last year when he had the hearing and Joe Biden brought him and several of the firefighters into the White House, and then those kind of hearings stopped, right, which was related to the PFAS equipment and a bunch of stuff related to cancer for first responders on 9/11. All of a sudden, no, but all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, Jon Stewart was back on TV. So there's a lot of stuff out in the universe that we could get into in relation to this thing, and I just don't. Again, I really question timing, Tom. Like, I just don't understand. Like, was it just because it was 9/11 itself that Maura Healey felt like she needed to say something on 9/11, and this was what she said?
I mean, in reality, what do you cover? Like, what do you include in that isn't some nonsense? I mean, you can't touch anything. Even if you want to like dabble in root causes. So I mean, the easiest thing to do is look at Bin Laden's 2004 election day letter. What's that? I mean, he talks about Lebanon at length in that. And once you peel that layer back, now you're basically smack dab into a very, very complicated era of Middle East politics in the 80s. Like any piece of any peel of the onion opens you up to 100 different things. And they're not going to want to do that, right? Because, that wouldn't be, to use Trump's phrase, patriotic education, right? Patriotic history. So I don't like it. Seems like a sentiment that just wasn't thought through. I was like, oh, it's 9/11. I want to write a thing, because anything you touch around this is a nightmare. Like if you have even just as an individual, never mind take the schools out of it. As an individual, if you really start picking at any of this, it leads you to 100 different things, and all of them are impossible to answer. Basically. Right. I mean, he's talking about in that letter on election day that, some people say shifted the election. I don't know. He's talking about he's talking about the Israelis getting involved in the Lebanese civil war.
Yeah.
It is probably, in my experience, someone studied history a little bit, is the most complicated thing to understand that I've ever encountered, because the sides are always, at one point, they're not communicating, but the Israelis and the Syrians are basically on the same side. Yeah. They're supporting the same people. And that lasts for a short time. And that whole, 10-year period is always evolving in who's aligned with who else. And it's very complex and difficult to understand.
By the way, I hope the algorithm is picking up these chat statements, because I'm hopeful that it'll get us a little ratings boost.
Yes, Shawnee. Yes, actually, Bin Laden's father owned. I think he's dead now.
Did you guys see that Tom knew psychically what I was saying?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I saw the question. The Bin Laden, I think it's called the Bin Laden Group, if you translate it, is basically the go-to construction company for the Saudi royal family. Now, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories around that. His father disowned him 30 years ago, 25 years ago. When he left for Afghanistan the first time, the father was done with him. His whole family was done with him. He's got some kids that he, before he died, he had some contact with or were, Put
that on the screen right now. Put that last statement on. I demand it. But on the screen.
So yes, Bin Laden's father is very, very wealthy, largely from doing construction for the royal family. Of course, the royal family commissions basically anything that happens in the country. But I mean, they were so, he came out against the Saudi royal, outright came out against the Saudi family. They disowned them long ago.
The deep dive. It's just so good.
I do know stuff about stuff outside of Worcester.
Yeah, you do. I don't think anybody questioned your ability. Maybe Maura Healey should hire you for this commission. She's good at that. She knows how to put. I have these kids going home like pronouncing at least like Arab names the right way. Parents will stop freaking out. Yeah.
Anyway.
If anybody wants to know, the word bin is the same as the word Mick, Mac, O. It just means son of.
Oh yeah.
It's all it's the same. So when you see McCormick or whatever, that just means son of. Mac, O'Reilly, O means son of, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. So yeah, so let me get one.
In Hispanic names, the day is the same of. It just means the same. They all mean the same exact thing. It just shows how common we really are. So people always want to have like these weird things about languages, but they're all very, very much the same. They have the same kind of components, and they're all kind of, connected at one point. So, people have a hard time dealing with that, but we're all kind of related. We're all cousins.
Yeah, I mean, so when you see these big, long, especially Saudi and usually Sunni Muslim names, it's usually tribe, clan, and then father's name at the end. It's sometimes done in different ways in different parts of the world, but so when you get these long, bin blah, bin blah, bin blah, el blah, that's it's identifying clan, tribe, and your father usually.
That's right. Oh, Nathan. Bin Nathan, right. Fred Bin Nathan, what? Yes.
All right, on to now. We're done with national and international stuff, probably forever.
Debate. Yeah, we're gonna do.
We're doing that right now. So both John and I attended the District 4 debate tonight.
I took notes.
My criticisms are, not anything new, really. It was a Worcester debate. We did a lot of identifying issues and talked very little about substantive things that could be part of the solution. Yep, we can identify issues. That's for sure. What we're going to do about them, what either candidate's plan is to do about them is, and this is not these two people individually specifically, it is our city government as a whole. It is, we'll wait for the city manager to tell us.
Yeah. So, basically, what I heard at the debate tonight was Ted Costas, he knows how to fix it, and Louis Ojeda is already fixing it. That's really the takeaway. There's no real specifics on it, and that's because this really goes back to the conversation that you started in the local media, Tom, about what power does the city council actually have, and it turns out they have none. One of the great examples tonight was about the bike lanes, and one of the questions that Hank Stoles asked was, what do you think about the bike lanes around the city of Worcester? Are they hurting business or not? And both of them agreed that they kind of did hurt business, and both of them agreed that they needed to have conversations with the city manager about it. But what it reveals is neither of them, whoever is in that role, has zero power to do anything about the way the streets are designed. Literally zero. As we saw at the last Tuesday's meeting, you saw a lot of frustration from at-large Councilor Mo Bergman about the Chandler and May double rotary project. Now, this is something that I have written extensively about and talked about for many years. So Matt Wally, when he was a councilor, D5, he was the big proponent of the Worcester State College double rotary project, because if anybody who knows Chandler Street during college season, the transition from Chandler to May is an absolute disaster at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then again from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Just abject disaster. And it's one of the worst parts of the city traffic-wise. So the solution back then, so we're talking 8 years ago now, so 2017, was the state had given out this pool of money for rotary projects, which was the same pool of money that was used to pay for the Peanut in Kelly Square. Same exact design firm, same engineer, same. It's all like, if you go back and look at it's the same stuff that's been going on for years. You go to the city's website, they have it up on the website. There's actually a Chandler and May reconstruction section of the website. So Mo said he had never heard about it, which is wild because he was on the council when it happened and voted for it without knowing about it, which is even better. Now we've gone back. It was an 11-0 vote. There was a series of votes, including committee. I can't find which committee he was on back then, so I don't know which committee he was on. But I do have that the city council voted this 11-0 over and over and over and over again. So, and take out he has no idea. Yeah, that's a perfect example. They have no ability to do anything in the budget. They can't cut anything, so it doesn't matter. But
no, that's the only thing they can do. They can just take money out.
They can take money out, but they can't take specific money out. They can only take.
There's still confusion about that.
There is
on the council.
Right, they don't know. So, but the double rotary thing is been going on. Now, I live on Irving Street, and part of what happens is every street on Chandler Street, from the top of Chandler Street to the intersection with May Street, which is wild. Every household on a street offset had to be notified of this over like a period of 2 or 3 years, and there was a bunch of notices that went out, and there were meetings, and there were all those things. When Matt was on council, there was a lot of frustration from D5 residents that they weren't getting access to those meetings. One of the things that happened with Attell becoming the District 5 counselor is that she goes to those meetings. She's at all of those meetings, and she actually got, of all people, Donna Calorio, who lives near Doherty, to go with her to it, because it will affect Doherty because of the Pleasant Street corridor and Highland. It's going to affect everybody in those areas. It's changed the whole traffic pattern. Okay, so that happened over the past 4 years that Attell had gotten Donna to go to that. And it was kind of something we've talked about. It was an interesting team up. Telegram Gazette wrote an article about it. Like, there's a bunch of stuff where you can go back and look it up. So in the city council on Tuesday, when he said, no one's ever told me about this, and Attell got up and said, yes, we have, and Donna was there, I thought it was very funny because I was looking at Mo, and he turned to Donna and looked at her, and she was like, I thought was the best thing in city council the whole year, because she was like, I did go to that, and you probably should have known about it. And that just goes to show you, we're in the, like Tom said this earlier today, we're in silly season where we just make up, we turn everything into some reason to argue. I don't know why Councilor Bergman is running against the incumbent District 5 counselor, but he's very much, his campaign this year is, I'm against Attell. That's all I can see for Mo, because he didn't declare for mayor, which, by the way, we got to talk about that. Who declared for mayor?
Can we talk about the debate first? That's actually on our agenda.
Debate. So to get back to the debate, it doesn't matter if Ted Costas beats Louis or Louis retains. Neither result matters, because they have zero ability to change the projects the state has already decided on. Literally zero. The best they could do is talk maybe to the state delegation. So Robin Kennedy, David LaBeouf, Mary, like that group of people, Mary O'Keefe, right? And maybe see if Peter Durant, who's never going to talk to them anyway. So, but get that group to go back to the legislature and make adjustments. Problem is they can't even do that, because Ray Martin, our current Speaker of the House, has already decided that this is going to happen, and literally, the governor of Massachusetts cannot stop this project from happening.
Nope, because the dictator of Massachusetts has spoken.
It's wild. So that question was, and this is nothing against Hank, because Hank was reading a card from a person in the audience who asked this question. Okay, so it's not Hank's fault, and it's not the person, but literally the city councilor has nothing to do with it. It's going to happen if the state wants it to happen. The only thing that can change it is in the next budget, which is after next year's governor's race. So nothing's going to change, at least until the governor's race. And they're talking about having shovels in the ground next year. So because that's what Mo was complaining about. It's 75% approved. Once you hit the 75% approval for a road project in Massachusetts, it's
happening.
Yeah. And so that's what he was, and he knows that. So he said that. So, but there's nothing he can do about it. Nothing Mo can do about it. The city manager can't do nothing about it. It's already over. It's a state road, guys. So that's what a lot of the questions are, is they ask city councilors, like, what can you do about this? And the city councilors should answer, my position has no authority on that subject. That's what they should answer, but they don't. They talk about it, because the things that they do have power about Tom, they don't want to talk about that.
Facts.
They don't want to talk about that. So that's what that's what happened. I will say that I thought Ted was fine. Ted was the same as Ted has always been, and I thought Louis was fine. There was no like big swings and misses. There was no like huge hammers. I thought they both got a couple of zingers in there. They're like, you did this and you didn't do that and da 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 da. There was a couple of those, and I think that Ted, he presents himself as this, he's going to do it a little bit different, and tried to set himself up as an outsider, and Louis as an insider that's part of this establishment that Ted is going to go against. That's kind of what I got the big takeaway from. I don't know that Ted Costas is viewed as an outsider by anybody else other than Ted. And so, I don't know. I also don't know. You and I talked about this off air. If District 4, my district, shows up at the polls and they vote like they've never.
All bets are off. Everything.
The city is under revolution, and we have I cannot predict to you what's going to happen. I can't, because if the turnout is great in D4, it's going to be what. So D3, there's hold on, we got to finish talking about D4. So that's really my takeaway. And then there was a jerk at the very end of the debate, because
I'm so mad I missed it.
There was some guy who came and yelled at Louis, who's not even from Worcester. I took a picture of him, and Tom and I will figure out who he is, and we'll put it out on This Week in Worcester to make sure people know this guy's a jerk. But the owner of Cafe Neo, on 2 occasions, Peter, who's a good guy, specifically went at people who were doing like kind of chirping when Louis was giving answers. So the second time he said, hey, if they do that again, kick him out, to his bouncer. So you got to give credit to Cafe Neo. I think he did a pretty good job. That was a unique thing for District 4. I don't remember the last time we had a one-on-one debate in D4 like that. I mean, we did have one in the last thing, but it was at the church, right? So it was more like groups than it was. This was a lot of different people that I haven't seen in D4 before. We had a lot of stars out, definitely. In the D4, in Cafe Neo, there was a couple of sitting city councilors. My girl Donna came out to see me. That's the only reason Donna comes anywhere, is to see John. Candy was there, and Dr. Mitra showed up about an hour late. Got to make sure I said, who else was there? Oh, Gary Rosen was there, the unicorn. The unicorn, and Kathy Roy was there. School committee member, and I don't remember who else. Anybody else?
No, at one point I was where I was sitting. Some people were talking, and she turned around and said something, and somebody said, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble," and I said, "Oh no, we're gonna get expelled."
That's great. That's great.
From the proud member of the Throw as Many Kids Out of School as Possible caucus.
But I will say the number one star of the night was Patty Stoles, who was was the timekeeper behind the scenes for Hank. If anybody knows Hank's wife, Patty, she is a high quality human being, and has to put up with Hank, which is a tough job. It's a tough job, really.
I somebody asked about D3. I don't know what to think about Frisolo's. State House passed. There's a lot of differing opinions on, he got railroaded and much of that to not. I don't know what to believe. I don't know much about the guy. His politics don't really appeal to me. And I saw Pizzella retweet something from David, or repost or whatever, share something from David Webb that said, he would support Frisolo. And, if that's a knock on Frisolo, then we must ask Mr. Pizzella, then, well, who's Monfredo supporting?
Yeah.
That whole group of people is disgusting. So it's very difficult to pick somebody in that district. I'm glad I don't live there, so I have to hold my nose.
Oh, listen, I also saw Colleen West in the parking lot.
Oh.
I did. I saw Colleen West, and she talked to me. And so I will say, hi, Colleen. I hope you watched the show. I
introduced myself and said hello. She probably would have sneered and spit at me or something.
and I am not anti-Colleen. I'm happy to discuss and talk with her at any time. I even shook her hand. How about that? I would have given her a hug.
I want to introduce myself.
I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. Oh man, the chat goes off.
That's right. Why? I don't understand why. Well,
I did that on purpose, and it totally worked.
people on the left, stop it with the parity test. Talk to people you disagree with, for the love of God.
I'll talk to anybody.
Human beings in the process.
Because I wish I could go back on that Seven Hills page and engage with those folks, but instead they just like to run me down. Am I anti-racist? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be anti? Of course I'm anti-racist. What does that even mean? Yeah. Is that a thing that I probably don't know the term, but yeah, I am. Or are we asking Colleen that? We asking Colleen? I don't know. I don't know what the chat is saying. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm pro engaging with people, even people that have wildly different opinions than me, and don't want to. But by the way, I'm in talks with somebody. I'm in talks with somebody that is difficult to come and talk to Tom and on the show. We'll see if we can engage. We can make it happen. It's tough. Sometimes people listen. I mean, what happened this week? You know, what we started the show with, the subject of what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, I don't know that it applies to everybody, but I definitely know that people will respond feeling fear. I actually thought one of the more profound moments of the night was the question about Councilor Nguyen and whether Councilor Nguyen should be paid for not coming to work since February. And so I will say, so Ted Costas obviously jumped right on that and was like, no, they shouldn't be paid. And then Louis said what I thought Louis would say, which was Louis saw the emails. Which so Tom and I know about those emails, and Councilor Nguyen has been threatened physically for many, many months by a series of people who said if Councilor Nguyen comes to the City Hall that there would be things done to them. I don't always agree with Councilor Nguyen, and I personally would want them to come back. I actually have made an appeal on the show for them to come back and vote, and I get it. They feel that their life is in danger. I accept it too. I accept that that's what they believe. However, I will say that I think it is a legitimate question to ask the candidates of the various races, like, how do you feel about this? And I thought what Louis said was good, because he said, I saw the emails and I can't make that decision for them. And then, of course, someone from the crowd had to yell out something stupid, because that's just the way, Worcester is. It just has to be something dumb. Of course, it was related to pronouns, right? So that was immediately, and, it got rejected, and Hank Stoles went right at it, good moderator, and said, hey, and knocked it down. And so I think what Louis said, it makes sense. He said that it could only be Councilor Nguyen's decision. And I think that is right. So then you can criticize their decision, but you can't say it's not their decision to make. It's not our decision to make. It's not anybody else's decision to make. It's theirs. And they've made the decision to stay in office and receive their paycheck. So it's just an interesting thing. I think it's a great contrast for Louis. I think Louis came across amazing in that, because Louis can't accept a salary because he works for the school. So that makes Louis look even better. So Louis goes and is a city councilor without pay. That's a big deal, because one of the things that we talk about all the time is about how they work. Folks work part-time jobs and work full-time part-time counselors and full-time jobs. This guy's doing it for any money. Yeah, I think that's true. I thought that Louis gave the best possible answer. I guess is maybe the better way to say what I said.
Yeah, and look, I get that people people in Worcester especially are not going to be okay with somebody collecting money and not coming to work, and that's the perception.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, or different. That is the perception. And there should be a means of recall, or however. I mean, it's complicated because I hate special elections, quite frankly. Like, They're expensive. To have a special election, just it's just for a part of a 2-year term, it's ridiculous. But a mechanism for removal, I think, is appropriate. This isn't specific to two, but there was a proposal raised to council that was wholly unworkable.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not against supporting some sort of mechanism to cure situations where people need to be removed or have gone AWOL or whatever it may be. But we need a good solution, not if you don't show up to 3 meetings in a row on a part-time council, including your subcommittee. That means the chair of your subcommittee can just move the meeting to a time you can't get there, and you're out of office in 3 months. No.
Yeah, that's lame. I will say this is that if there's going to be a mechanism for removal, it needs to be a legitimate power, and I really feel like it should be in the hands of the voters. So it's like I'm a voter person, and so if there's going to be a recall mechanism of some kind, it should be petition based. There should be signatures. There should be a process that's laid out and should be fair, but it also shouldn't necessarily be triggered by the council being mad at somebody, right? So
right.
It should be like if someone got elected, but this also, it's really hard to do in a 2-year term. So
exactly,
if it's a 4-year term now we're talking about hey, we voted you in, you're not doing what you're doing. It's 2 years into your 4-year term. We can take you back, as the voters of a district or whatever. The only thing is our system is not set up the right way, because then you would have to move to more district councilors for it to be really a truly effective tool. And right now we have 6.
Oh, you mean like a regular city?
Yeah. So, there's so many interconnected problems with this situation that it's just not fair. And again, I would point out, Councilor Nguyen is not the first person to miss council meetings. So it's interesting to hear the same folks that didn't complain about it the last time it happened complain about it now. Different circumstances, not exactly the same, scenario, but a person missed city council for 4 months at the very end of their term and didn't show up and actually caused all kinds of chaos when they were there, right? Yelling and screaming and all this other nonsense. So that was something we dealt with as a city, and that person didn't get their pay docked. So just the fact that it gets brought up kind of...
And there was, I guess there was some discussion at the time about solutions, and they never did anything.
Right.
So they left themselves open to this.
Yeah. But it goes back to, again, when we're in the room and the D4 thing, I think that a couple of the folks in the chat did say it doesn't have anything to do with D4. That's 100. So that now I agree with you about that. My thought is that once the question is asked, it's a legitimate thing for them to answer it. And I think that Louis handled himself very well in that answer. I think Ted gave the answer we probably all thought Ted would give. So I'm not hammering Ted, because I just assume that everybody who is not either a current counselor or is outside of the traditional democratic structure is always going to be against Councilor Nguyen. So I kind of dismiss that answer and just be like, well, it doesn't matter what happened, you're always going to side in this other direction.
Yeah. And if you go back and look at what led up to that big blow up in council,
well, that's what I mean. Which, by the way, that was a subject that was never dealt with. It's still kind of hovering around. City staff not allowed to talk, and all. There's all kinds of stuff going on with that situation, and it's really, really, really not great. And again, the person who realistically is responsible for this at the very top is Eric Batista, because this is the tone with which he's managed the city. Which I think
I disagree with that, and I'm not unwilling to throw shade at the city manager, but this is council asserted its independence.
Kind of.
This is a council issue.
There's some city staff though that work for Eric Batista that were told to keep quiet, and so I've talked about that before. We intentionally didn't report on it because we felt like that would put people. We made a decision as a together. Not to report on it, but that situation, I hold the city manager accountable for not backing up his staff, if that makes sense. And I think I think that's the most I can say. How about that? I think I've come right to the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's other problem with that too. I was talking about this with somebody tonight. Council staff it actually works for the clerk because
Erica doesn't work for the city council anymore. She's gone. Josh Duhamel is the chief of staff now.
I mean, there's 3 of them for 10 people.
There's not 3
Stupid.
of them anymore. There's only 2 right now because Erica, which is wild, which is wild. Erica had the most experience, very good, but didn't want to do that role anymore because that wasn't what Erica was originally hired for. She was hired by the clerk's department. So there's a lot of things in the city that are, that they just do not have. The city council does not have enough staff. They just do not, and they don't get paid enough. 33 grand is not enough. It's just not enough.
No. It should be a full-time job, and there should be real staff.
And the city managers
shouldn't be Googling to try and figure out issues. You should have people to do that. Preparing, issue briefs for you.
Yeah.
So that when you walk into council to vote, you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be begging the city manager to approve a report. And in his defense, there's so many requests for reports, you couldn't possibly do them all. But I mean, you shouldn't be getting reports. You should be getting data.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be getting spin. You should be getting information.
Yeah.
That's how a real legislature works. But we don't live in a real city.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's what. We know this right now. I'm going to say I'm predicting this right now. A central piece of this campaign season will be various people talking about Councilor Nguyen, even though they're not running.
Right.
And the second piece will be running against the tell, even when they're at-large councilors.
Right. And it's I didn't finish my thought. People in Worcester are not going to receive somebody not going to work and get paid.
Yeah.
But it still baffles me. We're talking about $33,000.
Yes.
But we can't talk about any of the police lawsuits because we accept no responsibility and they're settled.
The grand hypocrisy of Worcester extends to the people of Worcester, Tom. The voters of Worcester will complain about the perfect example. I'm working on a story related to the festivals and the billing for the festivals. Tom and I are doing some research. We got some information. We're going to put together an article that might be different than other reporting, right? So we're working on that right now. That the total bills that we're talking about is like 15 grand. It's like 15 grand. And it was a major breaking news story for the leading newspaper in Worcester. Major story, which is wild because, where's the reporting on this 27 million that's been going on and building and build? But by the way, the city filed an appeal to the Supreme Judicial Court. Do you know how much money that's going to cost us in legal fees? Just the legal fees. In the SJC process is 18 months long. So from the day of the filing now, before we can have a file, 18 months more.
They hired a Boston law firm they have an office in Worcester, but the same law firm that the Telegram hired when they sued the city for the public records request. Big law firm, big money.
Big law firm, big money. So we're talking about spending, I would say, north of $1 million on this at least, because and so the voters of Worcester are okay with that.
That's fine.
That's fine. But exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's like and if you say this to people, they get offended. Voters from Worcester get offended immediately. But I'm like, you're okay with them spending $1 million to potentially lose 30. By the way, 18 more months. The estimate from the that we got from the last set of reporting that
it's going to hit 30 million.
It's going to be over 30 million, right? So it's $1 million on the lawyers, plus potentially $30+ million at the end of this thing.
Paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to this lawyer that was representing them with the DOJ to write a propaganda piece for the Telegram.
But here's the crazy part, Tom. The chance of the SJC overturning its own appeals court is less than one. It's so minuscule. It's a massive financial risk for the city. And by the way, here's the big part, people. You got to pay attention to this, and Tommy and I will be covering it the whole time. If the SJC decides, there's no more time. The estoppel in Massachusetts is 30 days. That's if you look up the word estoppel, that's the legal end to a case. But the estoppel is 30 days. So that means that as soon as the SJC enters a decision, if it's against the city of Worcester, and it looks like it is going to be based on everything we have so far, the city would have to pay 30 days later. That's it. There's no more appeals. There's no more nothing. There's no federal appeal here. None, zilch, nada. It doesn't matter. The city could sue Massachusetts later on, could sue the state. That's a different
They
case.
lose that. Yeah.
They could do that, but they still have to pay the money out of our general fund. We'll have to go out to Holden in a check. Here you go, Holden, $32 million. Talk to you later. Have a nice day. Peter Lukes will build a statue to himself, maybe. I don't know. $30 million is a lot of money for a town the size of Holden. But then Worcester would have to pay more lawyers, more money to sue for that money that they need to get back. Are you listening to this, folks? Do you understand what we're going through? And they're complaining about $33,000.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, it's just hard not to see the trans bigotry and the overtones of trans bigotry through it all. If it wasn't that individual, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
It's definitely definitively against Councilor Nguyen. There's no doubt about it. There's no other reason for this. Normally, it would just be ignored. It's like, well, it's over. We're going to move on. But no. They've been dragging. This is a story consistently. And
we can move on from a federal investigation of the police department.
Yeah, we got to go.
We can't move on from $33,000.
Yeah, I know. We can't talk about officers raping somebody. No, we can't do that. That could never happen.
Listen. They know that never happened because every one of them knows every other one of them did ever in their life.
You're right, Tom. An officer never took an unmarked car into Hope Cemetery and did anything. It's never happened ever. You're never. Right. Never happened. Never, ever. But
listen. There's, some people over there, that former union officials, they have the opinion. They're of the opinion that if an officer is convicted of a crime, they don't say a felony, which is what they mean. That they should be fired. Except who's going to forward the charges?
No, nobody.
By
the way, I followed your exchange with former union president Rick Cipro online related to the Citizens Academy, and so
Rick has been on this show.
Can I break news? Can I break news? I want to break some news.
What's the news?
Considered going to the Citizens Academy. He did. He actually considered it. He thought about it. He came up. He went through it with me. We talked about it. We expressed our opinions about it. He made the decision not to go because he thought that if he went, it would be used against him. He didn't go.
So in such close proximity to the public statement or the police or whatever, I got to. It's inevitably going to be flipped into he's just here to try and catch us bleeping up, and so I just have not to. I just don't need the aggravation.
It wasn't worth it. And then by the way, not by name, because they never want to tell you by name, but always referencing the people that are critical of the police department. And again, I will stand by this till the day I die. I'm not critical. I actually think Chief Saucier has done okay. Not as good as I wanted him to do, but he's done okay. He's done some good things, including recently letting go of an officer who needed to be fired some years ago, and then finding, or his BOPS department finding 2 officers at fault for use of force violations. Completely new things in the city of Worcester. Awesome. He's also been the most transparent chief of police we've ever had, admitting to the Brady list, admitting to officers being on the Brady list, which is wild. That never happened. So yeah, that's another thing there. We're not anti-police. We're just anti this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that it's like, okay, there's really no reason for me to engage because the person is trying to set you up no matter what. And so you can't win. So there's no point in engaging. We just got to keep doing what we're doing, which is try to talk about the logic and the understanding and the way that people approach it. And even in this episode, we're being critical of the voters of Worcester because the voters of Worcester are the ones who keep these stories that have nothing to do with anything in the news on a regular basis. And we're even self-critical of the media because the local media loves that stuff and just feeds on it. And people click it. I watch the numbers. Me and Tom follow the numbers. That's how our entire business model works. The bar is below hell.
Yeah, and
That's
like
a low bar. That's a low bar.
so. While Rick Sabro and I, from here and there, have sniped at each other online. Look, the guy sat down with me and talked to me multiple times, and then came and did this show. Right, he came on and sat here for an hour with me live. Cut to him. We disagree on a whole bunch of stuff. We agree on some stuff. But I mean, he talked to me. There's other people that are very, very vocal online, but they won't talk to you. They just want to snipe at you from afar.
But by the way, the actual devil just said that. That's the devil.
What are you talking about?
Sean is the devil.
Oh.
And he said the bar's below hell.
I'm missing it. So, I have a lot more respect for somebody who can sit down to you and talk to you and you can disagree on stuff. Then, people that want to snipe from afar try and make some political point while they lie to the voters of Worcester over and over and over again.
Oh, man. Oh, I love this show. This is the best show. This show should be internationally broadcast. This is the best show on the internet, on TV. There's nothing better than this. Joe Rogan, eat your heart out. You can't even touch us.
All right. A couple other things. Going into the sports realm, because we like to talk sports at the end of the show.
Oh, wait. Before the sports, I want to do the NAACP forum thing real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for those of you who follow Worcester, like what goes on with Worcester as far as political coverage, right? So, every year, the NAACP, which is headed locally by Fred Taylor, has usually a series, either one or two, opportunities for candidates to come out and talk at the Big Brother and Big Sister on Canterbury, not on Canterbury Street. I forget. Big Brother and Big Sister Way is called now. But anyways, long story short, they had that last week, and several candidates did not attend. Okay, several candidates across the spectrum. Okay, last year. The same thing. Last session, 2 sessions ago, 2 years ago, the same thing happened. Multiple candidates didn't come, and then there was reporting in the Telegram and Gazette, and there was a press release from one of the campaigns saying that that they were not invited. I have viewed with my own eyes the emails sent by the organizers of the NAACP candidate forums. I've seen them with my own eyes. And I will tell you that they invited every candidate, including the candidates who were on the ballot before the preliminary election. And then there was a follow-up invitation after the preliminary election, where every single candidate was emailed. And I have those emails. Tom and I both know how to get a hold of these candidates. And it was the most direct email that I know of for the candidates in question. In the case of at least 4 of the candidates, they were followed up by, that did not come, they were followed up by with a physical letter invitation. So, if I see reporting in any place, and I hope our audience will check this out too, that says that somebody said they weren't invited to that, I will push back with an article and I will publish those emails and invitations myself.
Fair enough. What is our WRSC teachers? What's that? What you said?
What you said? Oh, the teachers?
Oh, yeah. We did a whole thing on the Charlie Kirk thing. I think you're talking about the teachers. Yeah.
The Wachusett regional teacher that's being suspended for the.
Yeah. So this teacher sent out something I think was on Instagram. And all it said is, "We offer no sympathy."
Yeah.
This is actually the thing that triggered the thought. I forgot about it earlier. This is the thing that triggered the thought. Like, we're required to be sympathetic because you tell us to. Like, she didn't insult anybody. She didn't even mention the issue. Just said, "We offer no sympathy."
I will say this, that again, this doesn't work well for free speech, 1. But 2, this also indicates, in my mind, you don't have to press send. You know what I mean? So there's I guess there's a time and a place, but I do defend her right to say what she wants to say. So I don't understand the vitriol that and just the absolute. By the way, weren't these folks all complaining about cancel culture? Just a couple.
Yeah. They love cancel culture.
So what are they talking about? So
Yeah.
it's canceled everybody on the. So it's just bouncing back. It's the same exact thing that they were complaining about. So just again, abject open hypocrisy. Whatever. Typical politicians.
Yeah. All right. First of all, I wanted to mention Ricky Hatton. Casual boxing fans will know Ricky Hatton for getting whooped by Mayweather. But his career, beyond that fight did not do well against Mayweather. But beyond that was a dog.
45 and 3.
Passed away the other day. So just wanted to mention that he was a dude.
By the way, yet another dude that Floyd Mayweather avoided until he was older. Anyways, continue.
Yes. But last night on Netflix was, it was, if they had done Mayweather Pacquiao when they should have, it was that level.
Yeah.
Canelo and Bud Crawford. And I gotta tell you, people are like pooping all over, talking about GOAT level Terrence Crawford. I gotta tell you, that was a masterpiece last night.
It was.
Masterpiece.
He's also the first boxer
Incredible.
in history to be undisputed in 3 separate weight classes. So there is no doubt about his greatness. Four. I'm sorry. He was already the only one with 3. He's now the only one with 4, right? So there's several that have been undisputed in 2, but he was the first with 3, and he's now the first with 4. So it's even better.
Pacquiao, I think, spanned 6 or 7 over his career, but he's never undisputed. He's never been undisputed in those.
Undisputed, right? He won belts in 6 or 7. I think Pacquiao's the record holder for belts across divisions.
Yes. But this thing last night, look, Canelo, he didn't look great, and I don't think he knew what to do, which is the problem with Crawford. But it's not like he's over the hill. He's late prime, and he couldn't do anything.
Yeah, so Crawford, he fought southpaw the whole fight, and he fought modified Philly, which if you've ever seen it, it's just a very interesting stance. But it's not the old Philly with this. It's not this, but it's just a very different stance for someone who's a traditional boxer like Canelo Alvarez, who's just been great across all divisions. Doesn't really have a weak left hand. Could hit for power from both sides, but was kind of a straight up fighter, not really a positional fighter. And Terrence Crawford just outboxed him. Sweet science, dude. That's what it was. It was.
It's beautiful.
It was awesome. What else are you gonna say?
And last Crawford fought, which was like a year ago, or whatever. He was 2 weight classes below, so he put on a bunch of weight before this fight. And when so the boxing people say, at least, when you put on that weight, that doesn't necessarily mean that your resistance to your chin changes.
Right.
And so you still have a guy who's much heavier than you're used to, and weight matters a lot. You have a guy much heavier than you used to hitting you, and he just blew off. He got caught a few times, just blew it off. The guy's unreal.
Yeah, he does. Crawford's 38. Yeah, you're right, Sean. He does. He looked like he was 25. It was awesome. It was a great.
That fight, his last fight. I forget the guy who's going to now fight that idiot from YouTube. He was amazing. He's getting better at 38.
Great.
I think that's probably it. I don't know why you'd fight again.
No,
just the fight of the generation.
This goes back to the boxers always have the worst time retiring, and they really do. It's always like the hardest thing because it's that next purse is the most money that they ever saw, even though they just made a ton of money.
Look at Mayweather. He's 42 now. Something. He's still doing these demonstrations and crap, exhibitions.
What a waste of all of our collective energy. Him versus Tyson, just useless. So
yeah, I don't know. Does Mike need the money? I don't know what's going on, dude. He wasn't even there.
Mike has all kinds of money now because he's got the production company, so he's making a ton of money from all those.
It's with the weed company.
I guess. I mean, I think it maybe just to make another documentary. The documentaries are dope, by the way. I don't know if you've seen some of the documentaries that they make. They're awesome. They're all like found footage stuff. They've been tracking this dude since he was a kid, so there's all kinds of cool stuff of him, behind the scenes. The last one they had him in jail. They had him on the phone in jail, and they had him in the jail, which was just a wild. The guy's had a crazy life. Crazy.
Yeah, to say the least. So, if you're not a boxing fan, sorry, but that thing last night was a masterpiece.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah.
And Canelo said today, or maybe it was last night or whatever, Crawford's much better than Mayweather, which I thought was, which will get under Mayweather's skin, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Mayweather was an amazing fighter, but he's also a prick.
Yeah, he also avoided everybody and fought people under circumstances like he fought Canelo, but he fought Canelo a month after Canelo had fought another fight. If you remember this, he said, well, I'll only agree to this if you fight me in a month. And so he only had a month to train. And so he put him in a bad position. Just really lots of bad stuff that he there's so many. Mayweather just annoys me. I can't stand the dude. Just can't. Terrence Crawford, though, I like that guy. He's cool.
Yeah.
Very humble dude.
Yeah, it was as good as it gets.
All right, you know what time it is, Tom.
Let's go to John's favorite part of the show.
By the way, I know everybody out there, you hold us to a high standard as far as presenting information. And I'm sorry that week after week, year after year, you have to deal with that show-ending piece of disinformation from Tom Marino. Because and I know that this is the best part of the show, where we asked Tom Marino what his favorite things are. Now, last week, because we launched.
Did you ask me my favorite boxer?
We could do that. We'll do that. We could do that. I had another one, but you know what? We'll pivot because of timeliness. We'll do timeliness. But last week we asked about Patriots' favorite enemies, and of course Tom picked Dan Marino because he's a big Dolphins fan. Although I don't think he likes this version of the Dolphins team. The Patriots won by accident today. I'm not giving any credit to them. When I write my write-up, I will. From the grumpy old fan. The new award-winning series from This Week in Worcester, our sports journalists 101. But we'll talk about that next week. So let's ask that. Let's do that. Who is your all-time favorite boxer?
So this is a two-part answer. I mean, my age, it was Mike. Mike was bigger than life when I was just getting old enough to watch TV, to get what was going on, right? So it's Tyson hands down. However, the second part of that answer is so close to Mike. Arturo Gatti was the man. Couldn't keep himself in shape for most of the early part of his career, but was knocking people out.
Drinking and doing coke right before he got into the ring.
Yeah, he was out of control. And then he got real, and then he beat a whole bunch of people.
He did. When he got healthy, he just destroyed people. He destroyed people.
Roy's a good one. Roy was
one of the more annoying fighters, though, because of this. When he would do that thing, that used to aggravate me.
But it was it wasn't very long compared to some others that reigned atop, but there was a point where he was a lot better than everybody.
Yeah, I think Roy Jones was the best in the world for a little bit. My favorite boxer of all time is Bernard Hopkins. It's not even close.
Yes.
Bernard Hopkins was my favorite. He did fight the Philly style, which was that weird, hand over hand style. And he does these weird things over things. Kind of looks like the Celtic, fighter in the old Celtics logo. Bernard Hopkins, though, that dude was just a unrelenting hitter. He just hit people and hit people and hit people. He was my favorite. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention the great Mickey Ward, who had whose flame burned brightly for a solid 3-year period. And was related to Gotti. So so Marvin Hagler does not get enough credit in the local area. He really truly doesn't. He's one of and he beat. I don't care what anybody.
Yes. To this day, that guy never beat Marvin Hagler ever.
Tommy, man, Sugar Ray Leonard did not win that fight. That was an absolute travesty. I've watched that fight 100 times, and first of all, he knocked him out in the 8th. That was a 14 count if I ever saw one by that ref. He was out cold on the mat, and he counted 14. Whatever, it doesn't even matter. It was a travesty because they love Sugar Ray, who wasn't a great fighter. He was just flashy. He was a flashy fighter. He brought in a lot.
I mean, he was a great fighter. He just wasn't Hagler.
Marvin Hagler beat him.
But
the Hagler-Hearns fight. So this is separate from who's the best boxer of all. My
that's
favorite
the best fight ever. That's the best fight ever.
That is the best fight I've ever seen, and there's nothing else that compares to it. There's nothing else that compares to it. It is the best fight of all time. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, Hagler was a notorious slow starter, and Hearns wasn't exactly a quick starter.
No.
And two rounds, it was mayhem.
Toe to toe, in the middle of the ring, wild Rocky boxing, straight up Rocky boxing, just fists to face all night long. It was wow, just whew.
And I'll throw one more in there. Just a guy I like, had lots of up and downs, and is a weird guy. James Lights Out Tony, who was the last guy to really fight the true Philly style. I mean, he fought that overhand.
Yeah, he fought the overhand.
He started. I think he was. I forget where he was. He lost to Jones at I think middleweight, and then moved up, and eventually was in heavyweight. And I mean, things he could do to avoid punches at heavyweight were out of control. Like, I mean, he's a wizard.
Roy Jones, to his credit, said that was one of the hardest fights he ever had. And if you remember, he stepped on his foot in one of those knockdowns, and Roy Jones had said it. He said, "Man, sometimes you get lucky," and he said that. And so I always credited Roy Jones for that, who was very cocky in his outside the ring persona, but he always admitted that fight was a tough fight. Real quick, there's a movie coming out about Christy Martin, right? Who, in my mind, I know everybody loves Lalia Ali, but she didn't fight the best fighters, so it's hard to really talk about her as an actual boxer in the women's division. Christy Martin was unbelievable for that little period of time. And apparently they're telling the story about the trainer who was not a good dude, but this girl could fight like nobody's business. So I know that it's the actress that everybody doesn't really like right now because of the ad with American.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But anyways, I'm gonna go see the Christy Martin movie because I thought she was a great fighter at the time.
Word. So that was a solid boxing segment.
Yeah, there you go.
But Terrence Crawford, the man.
Terrence Crawford, man, all day long, all day, all night on Netflix.
I mean, yeah. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't watch it. I'm not paying no pay-per-view. And if you're into the UFC, MMA stuff, that's actually going to Paramount Plus next year.
Yeah.
Because I ain't paying no $50 for no fight. Ain't happening.
So wait, so real quick before we wrap up, real quick wrestling thing, because Sean did ask about the WrestleMania. The answer is, if you didn't think that the WWE had sold out before, if somehow you were questioning in your mind that they weren't all about the money, they have confirmed it, that they're all about the money, and that's really what it is. It's always been about the money. That's why Hogan was so big, because Hogan brought the money, and it's been that way for 40 or 50 years. And so I have zero shock that they are taking $350 million from a dude who doesn't let women wear clothes that he doesn't like. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's wild. And apparently going to bring all the old wrestlers out of retirement to make this WrestleMania happen. It was great. We get to see 75-year-old Undertaker versus 75-year-old Shawn Michaels. I'm hoping for some sweet.
No, I read somewhere that Michaels turned it down.
Huh?
I read somewhere Michaels turned it down.
He was there. He was at the announcement.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah. He had hip surgery. Can't walk right, but I guess he's going to do Sweet Chin music. UFC can't do. I don't know how UFC can stand up right now. They're doing all these crazy cards. I don't get it. There's not enough fighters that are that good to do that. people are gonna be annoyed eventually. Are you gonna go? I mean, I watched the fight last night, but I did not start watching at 6 o'clock in the afternoon of the 47 undercard. I'm not watching all that stuff. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So they're gonna lose. Eventually, there's gonna be. It happens. It's happened in every version of this sport. Eventually, you can't sustain a card because they're just not good enough, and so you have to cut down on fighters. It's just not sustainable. That's why WrestleMania is 2 days now. They can't have a 12-match WrestleMania anymore because it doesn't work.
Mm.
So they made it 2 days long, and they made each block 2 hours, so it's easier or 3 hours, so it's easier for people to eat.
And
NXT is by far the best wrestling thing there is. I love NXT. I love the stupid crap they're doing with Joe Hendry, and say his name and he'll appear. Have you done the Joe Hendry yet, Tom? I believe in Joe Hendry.
I don't know how we got from sports to wrestling.
So good.
I want to end the show with something really irrelevant. A comment that was made in our chat that is probably the most irrelevant thing sent all day that absolutely no one will care about. Nobody cares. 0 people care.
Did the Cowboys are still playing football? I thought they got relegated. Didn't they get relegated to like the Spanish league or something like that? They play football still down there? I didn't even know.
Joking aside, Maria has been pounding the chat, making sure that we say that the NAACP is hosting a I think it's for at-large candidates on Wednesday at 6.
At-large. We'll see who shows up. See if if all 12 people are going to go. Let's see.
All right. Now we come with the irrelevant news. Anything else?
So much wrestling.
We are over at curfew.
Yeah,
we are officially grounded. All right. Thank you, everybody, for participating in chat and all that.
The chat
weird topics this week, but I had things to yell about. I don't feel better, but that's all right. Until next week, have a good week. We will try to screw it up less than. Have a great week. Go to the forum on Wednesday. Get involved.